everyone, and welcome to Huddle in Place of the Nine-Sided Circle, episode 59. It is May. Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dust up the muzzle.
Yep. Always annoying. All right. So it is May 29th, 2020. I am one of your hosts. I'm Noor Kyle, currently in Los Angeles. And you?
I am your other host, Mushtaq Ali, in the Bay Area.
Yeah. So I guess for this episode, we're just going to do a check-in. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of feelings bubbling through the environs right now. So that's how we want to spend our second to last episode. And tomorrow, our 60th episode is a big deal. We're going to be doing some reflection on these past 60 episodes and
looking back.
Yeah. So please join us for that. But in the meantime, we want to talk about lots of big things that are happening out there right now. So, do you want to start us off?
Start.
Yeah. I just remember. Okay, so first of all, I think we need to step back and express that most people on the internet these days are already aware to some extent about the fact that the U.S. has a very mixed, swaying towards bad track record on race relations in our country.
You said that so nice.
Yeah, I mean...
You're that was so politic.
So take us farther, Mushtaq, yes, please
Okay.
do.
America has been fucking bigoted pretty much from day one.
Right, yeah.
America had the most evil, abject form of slavery that the world has ever seen.
Yeah.
Its treatment of the native residents of this continent was evil beyond compare. The theft of native lands and the murder of native men, women, and children for monetary gain is epidemic in our history. Our treatment of Latino people has been abysmally bad. Our treatment of the Chinese who came over here and we used them as virtual slave labor to build the railroad and then tried to murder them all. Amongst other things, has been really, really bad, and on and on and on.
Internment of Japanese Americans during World War II.
Yeah,
currently
that should be internment of Americans who happen to be descended from Japanese people.
Right. Yeah, and
where we didn't inter Americans who happen to be descended from German people.
Yep. So I appreciate you taking us farther, because I do think that is all the stuff that is bubbling up right now. So, we've had so most recently, we've had the death of a man named George Floyd at the hands of, I believe, 4 different cops, with one standing.
What you're looking for is murder of George Floyd.
Yeah. So yeah,
everybody.
And people are responding to that angrily. Like, we're having protests in the streets right now in several major cities in response to this happening, because people are fed up with the fact that this continues and nothing changes. And the changes that do happen are superficial and not really all that effective in bringing about a sense of equality in how people get treated under the law. I mean, there's just systemic issues around that. And the people who are being harmed are not, it's them and their families and their communities. And I think that it's hard to discuss this in a way that does justice for me, because I feel so caught up in the whirlwind of emotions around coronavirus and all these other things. So I hope that you all can bear with me in that regard. And I'm glad that Mushtaq is able to speak so clearly about it, because I do feel that that's what we need to be doing right now. So thank you for that, Mushtaq.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm speaking clearly, but I certainly am not in the mood to pull any punches.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're having protests right now, because people are, they're kind of like on the edge as it is, in terms of fearing for their health and safety. And then it's like, salt in the wounds to just see people murdered in the street on camera by people who are allegedly supposed to be protecting them. And that's a cultural trauma. Like, these videos have been viewed by millions of people at this point, of someone dying before their eyes under the knee of this cop. And I can't say I blame people for being more angry of this happening than they are afraid of coronavirus.
Yeah, the coronavirus might kill you. The cops probably will, if you happen to be a black male in this country.
Right. So, I mean, on the issue of protests, of course, this will cause an upswell in cases. I think we can take that for granted.
Yeah. Though a lot of people were doing halfway decent social distancing.
Yeah, to some extent. There are a lot of people wearing masks, which is good for both, because you need to protect yourself from airborne virus particles, droplets, whatever. But yeah, also, the potential for tear gas and all that craziness, which can, so I have read, actually make you more vulnerable to the virus if you're exposed to tear gas.
Yep.
So yeah, it's important for people out there to be wearing masks right now, at the very least. But what takes it to the next level is the fact that there has been some looting. We don't know who caused it, to be honest, but there was a fire started at the precinct where the cop, who specifically, well, all four of the cops, right, who were involved in murdering George Floyd were working. Their police station has been set alight. I think it was last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which, I don't consider that looting.
No, and I don't either, no.
Yeah,
because
that's
that
not
was
more looting than the Boston Tea Party was looting.
Yeah. I feel like that was strategic and directed.
Yeah. On the other hand, busting into some mom and pop grocery and stealing all their stuff, that's just lame.
It's unfortunate. I mean, I was also reading comments from people who live in that community, people of color. A Black young woman, she was saying, like, this is the Target we shop at. These are our grocery stores. Why are we destroying them? Because we're the ones who are going to be suffering the consequences of that. So, I mean, there's so many layers to this.
Yeah.
I think the passion is understandable.
Yeah, and the people are furious, and a certain sector of them are going to feel justified in doing whatever they want.
Right, yeah. And the next, the curveball being thrown right now is the fact that there are people entering these protests and inciting property damage and violence and such, and we've seen that on video at this point.
When we say people, we mean
white like
people.
A white man.
Yeah. Alt-right motherfuckers.
Yeah, thank you for being clear about that.
Yeah, there's a great video out there of this one guy who is dressed in a heavy coat and a gas mask. And
with an umbrella over his head.
The umbrella is to keep drones from seeing him, for God's sake. People don't figure that out. Umbrellas are great for hiding you from drones.
And in the video that Mushtaq and I saw, this man takes a hammer and kind of almost with a nonchalant attitude. There's no huge aggressiveness going on. It's just like, all right, tap, 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 smashes 3 or 4 windows out.
Yeah. The only aggression he had was towards the people who were confronting him.
Right.
Don't do that.
Exactly. I guess what I mean by that is that
Yeah,
there wasn't, no, there's something very intentional and deliberate and shady about it, quite frankly.
Oh, it was totally shady. It was agent provocateur action.
Right.
And we saw the same thing elsewhere in the city with these white dudes piling up wood next to cars and just setting it on fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it's the alt-right is out there and they are doing what they can to foment a race war at this point.
So all in all, I mean, obviously these are very tension saturated times. I don't know what the situation is like elsewhere in the world right now, but speaking for ourselves here in the US, that is what I'm sensing right now. And we're going to be grappling with that for the weeks and months to come. And the issue of race, I mean, this is something that has been going on for centuries at this point.
Yeah, since before the United States was the United States.
Right. Yeah. At least in the formulation we know it as now, with like black, white, all that stuff, as, you know, distinct castes, I guess we could say that. Yeah.
Well, you basically, you got to figure this country was built on the backs of slaves using the blood of natives.
Yep. With so much of our, you know, generational wealth and all that stuff being built on the legacy of slavery and forced labor and all that. So
basically what we're saying is today was not a fun day.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
So moving from that, our rights to free speech are being infringed by the President of the United States.
Yeah.
Which I find amusing because he's claiming to protect rights to free speech, but he is attempting to censor a private corporation and their ability to control the content on their platform. And it won't stand up. I don't even think with the Supreme Court that we have now, they would agree with this. There's only 2 utter Trump cronies on it. And I think that they would end up in the minority. But it's amusing to watch this guy who is supposed to be the most powerful man in the world throw temper tantrums because somebody said that his tweet might not be entirely accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of chaos, you know, like, it's just the icing on the cake that our leadership is so fucked up, and that you know, journalistic integrity and access is so damaged right now. And we're going to see how, when, if we can bounce back from this. I mean, it's going to take time.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah. Do we have any positive news?
I'm positive it's going to rain tonight. Yes, as a matter of fact, we do have some positive news. So, Denzel Washington.
Yes.
Driving down the street in Hollywood. He sees these cops all rolling up on this homeless black guy. Things are escalating. Everything is tense. He stops his car. He gets out. He gets in between the cops and the black guy. You know, who is maybe a little bit crazy. You know, homeless people on Hollywood Boulevard can be a little weird sometimes. Most of them are harmless.
Under
Uh,
the influence, maybe.
yeah,
You know, who
uh,
knows?
but he kept things from escalating. He got the cops to let him take the guy and get him something to eat and something to drink. And he got the guy all talked down. I don't know if they took him off to jail or just let him go after that point, but maybe saved the guy's life.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be a celebrity, that's a great way to use it.
Mhm.
And, Denzel ran the risk of being tossed in jail himself or worse.
Right. I
But
was thinking about that. Yeah.
yeah, being a famous black guy is not as protective as it could be.
Hmm. Yeah.
But kudos to him.
Yeah. That reminds me of a story I read about a line of white women who stood in front of protesters between them and the cops as a way to shield them from any kind of, you know, police brutality so that they could protest in peace. So sometimes that is what we need to do.
Yep.
Yep.
It was the same thing back during the era of the civil rights movement. The reason that the freedom riders were out there, it, they knew that they were going to get the shit kicked out of them.
Hmm.
They knew that some of them would die,
Yep.
but they were white. And because that happened to them, people noticed.
Hmm.
If they had not been out there putting their white asses on the line, the cops would have been able to kick the shit out of people with a complete immunity from prosecution.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what leveraging white supremacy for good looks like. I mean, as weird as that is to say, and, privilege being leveraged like that is a strategic win.
Yep.
Yep. So,
So,
amen to
a
that.
lot of bad things, few good things, a lot of shaking of fists and yelling.
Hmm.
I'm feeling my radical coming out. I
Yeah.
have to admit,
Hell yeah.
usually much mellower than this.
There's a lot to be worked up about right now. I mean, more than worked up. Passionate is the word I think works best. Yeah. So that's what we got for you tonight. Please, please take care of each other. Look out for each other. Stay well, and we will talk to you tomorrow.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.